Well, boys, how y'all been? It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks for Thursday Supper Club, a week more than that since Matthew has been with us when we were at...
Where were we?
Uptown Sports Club.
Oh, yeah.
Chatting with the great Aaron Franklin.
Yeah, since went to Hot Luck. That was a good time, as always.
As always. And now we're back at the home base, Small Victory Bar on 7th Street, just off of Congress. Truly one of the best bars in the city. I'm not just saying that because we get to broadcast here from time to time. This is such a cool spot. And since you and I went here for the very first time, Brian, before that David Cross show last fall, I've introduced, I want to say, 5 to 7 people to this place, and the consensus is always, this place is cool. How did I not already know about it?
Well, there's going to be a lot more activity in the neighborhood. There's some news across the street at the Driskell.
That's right.
MML hired a big-name chef from New York City to redo the restaurant over there at the Driskell.
So MML brought in April Bloomfield from New York City. I mean, I'd say she's probably the biggest outside hire for a restaurant group of any chef, which is interesting because MML is not really one to promote their chefs. I mean, their two founders, Tommy Moorman and Larry McGuire, are chefs and kind of oversee culinary operations. I think Jed Adair oversees some of their culinary operations, but they don't usually trumpet their chefs because they're kind of more interested in the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey, which I think makes sense to some degree. I don't know if it keeps them from getting a certain level of chef because, you know, I think everybody wants to get their name in a press release or get nominated for cooking awards. And MML has been shortlisted for Best Restaurateurs, I believe, but I don't think they've ever had chefs be finalists for any kind of major James Beard Awards or anything like that. April worked at the Spotted Pig in the Breslin in New York City, helped get those places Michelin stars. The Spotted Pig was kind of the first American gastropub. She left kind of ignominiously when her partnership with Ken Friedman, the restaurateur, fell apart. The Spotted Pig, Mario Batali was a major investor there and was one of Friedman's good buddies. They famously or notoriously had an upstairs room that became known as the Rape Room. And Friedman got Me Too'd, got sued by some former employees.
Okay, so not Rape Seed, the other. Yeah.
Right.
Not rapeseed oil?
Yeah.
No, rape, R-A-P-E. It was really terrible scene up there. This was 2016, I believe. And he had to step away from his restaurants. April ended her partnership with him. She claimed that she was just the chef and didn't know everything that was going on. Later also publicly apologized for maybe not having enough awareness around what was going on and not fighting for her employees enough. She apologized, I think paid her penance, has since opened a place, I think called Sailor in Brooklyn, which is really popular. It was received rave reviews in the New York Times. The New Yorker said that she was doing some of her best cooking. So she's, really one of the best chefs in America, one of the most well-known chefs in America. And now she's coming down to MML, like Brian said. And if you go to the Driskell and try and go in right here on the 7th Street entrance, you'll see that it's all papered up and it's under construction. So they're going to take that historic restaurant there and convert it into a classic hotel, kind of Western-themed steakhouse.
Well, and in other steakhouse news, did you guys see that a group involving Taylor Sheridan bought the Fort Worth Cattleman's
Stockyards or whatever.
Stockyards.
Oh wow!
So he's getting into the restaurant business.
I wonder
with a crew.
Do you think he has money?
I don't know.
I guess I'll soon learn that you make a lot more money making hit television shows than you do running restaurants. But That's cool that he's gotten involved with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Sheridan was hugely involved in getting this new film incentive bill passed, and I think the lieutenant governor and Sheridan were palling around, and he got the lieutenant governor to throw his weight behind it. So I can't remember the number, but like $350 million.
Oh, he spoke at TCU graduation. He spoke at Texas graduation.
Sheridan spoke at both graduations?
Mm-hmm. He did.
We need to get him on the Thursday Supper Club. It sounds like he's making the rounds, guys.
Yeah, he's the Chris Del Conte of filmmaking. Didn't he go from TCU to...
Oh, yeah. That's TCU right.
Texas.
Good call.
So they're going to redo the Driskell Grill. I mean, the Driskell Grill should be one of the best restaurants and greatest restaurants in the town. It's got It's part of the oldest hotel in the city. It was really integral in the fine dining scene 20 years ago when David Bull was there. David Bull went on to open Congress and Second Bar and Kitchen. Bull was, I think, our first ever, or maybe second ever, Food and Wine Best New Chef.
That's right.
And he had, I think, Josh Watkins worked under him at the Driskell Grill as well. Right. So the Driskell was really one of the top restaurants in the city 20 years ago. Kind of fell into disrepair. The hotel went through different ownerships, different management groups, and MML has swooped in. They'll just be running the restaurant and the bar. I think they're revamping 1886, the cafe and bakery on the other side of the hotel as well. And so April's going to be in charge of that. She's also going to go over to Jeffrey's and help revamp Jeffrey's menu a little bit, apparently, and also work with what are their other Howard's, their bar over there, and Josephine House right next to Jeffrey's. I think she's going to help with all of the Clarksville properties except maybe Clark's. That seems to be
dialed in.
It's pretty dialed. I think Clark's is probably MML's most dialed restaurant. Clark's and Perla's probably. I was at Clark's last night. Tasted like it does every time you go there, which is good.
Was Clark's at the forefront of the sort of renovation of the Austin restaurant scene?
I mean, when did Clark's open? I guess Clark's opened in like 2000.
Well, Clark's was after Perla's, right?
Like
so it's like
2007 or 8.
It felt like Perla's was the one because they took the Mars space and they lightened it up and really made it, kind of a cool temperature-wise destination on South Congress instead of a dark red and black, which is not where you want to go after walking up and down South Congress. So it felt like Perla's was kind of their big, kind of...
Yeah, I think that was their second restaurant. Lambert's, I believe, was their first restaurant about 20 years ago now. And Perla's came after that in 06, 07. Elizabeth Street right behind that in 08 or 09. So, yeah, they're incredibly successful group. They've never closed a restaurant, which is pretty much unbelievable considering they've got more than 15 concepts in Austin.
That's practically unheard of.
It's unheard of. I mean, they've got a lot of investors that have, some of whom have very deep pockets. I guess all of whom, but some of whom have infinitely deep pockets. And but they know how to package a restaurant, make a restaurant look cool, feel cool. The food is always, consistent. It's not the best food in the city, but it's always good. You know what you're getting, and it's really, it transports you. Whether it's the uniforms, the music, the aesthetic, from the time you walk in, like you just feel like you kind of feel like you're in a big city restaurant at all their restaurants. And so they're definitely the most identifiable and distinctive restaurant group in the city, and I'd say probably in the state, given their size. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Bloomfield, how long, she lasts down here, whether she wants to stay and make it her home or whether she's going to come in and throw something together for a year or two and then dip. So it'll be interesting to see.
Competition's a good thing. I mean, rising tide brings up all boats. Bring the best chefs to town, and then you get something to compare it against, right? So now when you go to another place in town that isn't in a group, you can kind of see, okay, well, how does this stack up? Does it deliver? So it'll be interesting to see what she does. And obviously the Driscolls are really good, like you were saying. I mean, oldest hotel downtown. It'll be really, really interesting. I mean, they're going to do it right. They're really good at what they do. So it'll be nice to have the Driskell back as in the rotation of places to pop in before a show or, grab a quick bite after a show and just kind of see the vibe and
yeah, I mean, there's no reason to think it won't be the best steakhouse in the city. I mean, it easily should be. It should be one of the, 3 best steakhouses in the state if they live up to expectations.
I mean, we'll see if their pockets are bigger than Taylor Sheridan's, right?
That's right. They're going to go head to head with Taylor Sheridan.
Well, Brian, it's been a paradoxical sports week for you.
It has. It was tough.
You lost the Sooner softball team. They're not going to win their first softball title in about 25 years. But the flip side of that is the Oklahoma City Thunder are back in the finals for the second time in that franchise's history, and heavy favorites, too, going up against the Indiana Pacers with Game 1 starting tonight. I'll spare you the Sooner softball talk.
Oh, no. I mean, Sooner softball talk's great. I mean, you win You win 4 years in a row, and you make it back to the College World Series in a rebuilding year with pretty much everybody coming back. Looks like we had an outfielder and a catcher that was splitting time that have already entered the portal, but the portal giveth and the portal taketh, so I will be okay with whatever. I mean, Gasso's the GOAT. It was time for somebody else. I'm definitely pulling for the Longhorn ladies.
Oh, you are?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't want $1 million pitcher that gets bought and paid for through fracking to get a title. Even though I like the coach a lot.
Yeah.
His story's neat.
Is that the Texas Tech pitcher that pitched last night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's
Stanford.
She's gnarly.
Oh yeah, no, I mean his money well spent, but I just don't want Texas. I mean, I'm not a huge Coach White fan. Him giving the one finger salute to all of Oklahoma City probably is not a good way to endear yourself to Sooners fans, but
Good way to endear yourself to Longhorn fans, though.
yeah, I suppose so. But no, it was a great season for the ladies and for the men. I mean, we fought back. We had to beat Carolina twice. We only beat them once, but we were, our ace got rocked the first time we played Carolina, and I was happy to see us fight our way back through the losers bracket and at least make a go of it. But Carolina's a hot baseball team, so
Yeah, both baseball teams done now. The Sooners are done. Longhorns are done, of course. We're not going to dwell too much on that one. Matthew, how was it watching your first ever women's college softball game last night and the Longhorns beating Texas Tech in pretty dramatic fashion?
It was pretty wild. I was watching it on my phone at Clark's, speaking of MML. I had to just set up on the bar there and was watching it with no sound on. And when I saw the gal get thrown out stealing second, it was so obvious that she was out. And I don't know the rules of softball the way I do the rules of baseball, but I was like, why are they replaying this 100 times? She's out by like 3 feet. And then they called her safe, and you could see the reaction of disappointment on the Longhorn faces. So I guess she was obstructing the path to the base, which I didn't hear the conversation about it. Maybe that was a good call. Judging by the look on the Longhorns players' faces, it seemed kind of a shocking call. And then it looked like they were going to lose that game because they drove in that run from second base, I think, with the next hitter. And it's like, man, this is just one of those moments that can just change the outcome of your season and these gals' memories of college softball for the rest of their lives on some BS call. And then, ironically, Texas gets up there and they're trying to intentionally walk somebody, and Texas is smart enough to steal second base during that attempt. And then on the fourth ball, she left it over the plate and base knock, scored a run, and Texas wins 2-1. So I'm pumped up. I'm ready to watch the game tonight. I assume it'll go 3 games, but again, I don't know what I'm talking about. But last night was exciting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the thing about the pitch counts and 7 innings and things like that. So it's you'll probably get the ace again. It's not like she needs to rest, so you'll probably face the ace again
tonight.
Yeah, maybe.
And at the end of the game, you mean?
Or they'll start somebody else for the first 2 innings and bring her in.
What's the pitch count in softball?
There is no pitch count.
There is no pitch count. I'm just saying that it's only 7 innings, and it's such it's like their pitch counts stay pretty low.
Oh, because of the length of the game.
This motion
right.
is a very hard motion on the shoulder. This motion, the underhand motion, not a problem at all. So the best pitchers can literally pitch
3 games in a row.
Yeah,
no
3 or 4
kidding.
games in a row, no problem.
I want to watch a video on. I know I was a pitcher growing up. I know how to throw a slider and a curveball and a knuckleball and circle change and all that stuff, but I have no idea how these women
the rise balls and
make the balls move like that throwing underhand. I mean, obviously it's grip and probably a little bit of wrist action, but it's wild the way they make those the softballs move.
Yeah, I mean,
and that rising strikeout, I don't know, a Longhorn almost jacked one to left field and missed a home run by about 5 inches.
Yeah.
And then they came back with
talking about the foul ball.
Yeah, and then they came back with a breaking ball and then a rising fastball, and I was like, "There's no chance in the world I could ever hit one of those." I like the small dimensions. It's almost like baseball meets kickball or something. Like
it's like the pickleball version of baseball.
Well, I mean, I'm not
quick. Just the action's quicker. The bunting, the strategy, the short.
Does that mean 83-year-olds can play it?
I mean, probably.
They'll play it, get severely injured, and have to go to a PT to get.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Everybody plays softball.
At least it doesn't make that terrible noise.
That's true. but it does have the same color.
My daughter was asking last night. She's like, "How many foul balls do they get?" I don't know. Maybe she's watched some beer league softball in the past. I'm like, they get as many foul balls as they want to until it's a strikeout, a hit, or a walk.
How long have they been wearing the face protection?
That's a good question because I don't remember Cat.
Well, I
Osterman
saw
wearing.
they were showing some vintage videos to the girls this year, back from the '80s, and that's what they were still playing. They were still playing in shorts, shorts and no face protection. Probably came along early 2000s.
I played in a rec league back in 15 years ago, and one of our pitchers took a comebacker right at the face, and we all kind of. I mean, I don't know if everybody ran in. I kind of lightly jogged in because I didn't really want to see what happened. And he stood up and he's gushing blood and he's got the seams of the ball on his face, and his face is just growing in real time and
looks like a
swelling up.
garbage pail kid.
Yeah, he looked like a garbage pail kid. Sammy softball, and it's just, which is good that
You're right.
that it's going out, because if it was not bruising out, that means his brain was bleeding and he was going to die. But he got carted off in an ambulance, and as far as I know, I can't
But
remember the rest
more
of the
importantly
season.
tonight, let's talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder finals. What do you got? You like us in 5?
I mean, I've got money on the Thunder in 5 and 6 just to kind of cover my
Miss
bets.
Miss Cleo speaking. Everybody listen.
Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I just think they play the same kind of basketball. It's just the Pacers are just kind of Oklahoma City JV, Oklahoma City light. But they're fast and they're deep, and it's going to be up and down. Everybody's going to get their steps in, that's for sure.
So when we couldn't record, I was really wanting to record because
we had already agreed to take last week off.
I know, but I was
Florida.
fired up. Well, just because I felt like you were on the text thread fairly disrespectful of what should be a top.
Oh, when we were talking about all time because of the record?
It's like because your subjective eyes,
sure.
It's like the numbers matter.
Look, I went to an Oklahoma City game last March and texted my NBA thread and said, this team's going to win a title. I've never seen these. There's athletes everywhere.
Okay.
They're going so fast. So I've always believed in them.
But if they win a title in 5 more games,
right,
their record stands up against the greatest NBA teams of all time.
And it's going to change. Shea is going to be, if he can come even close to this for 2 more years, he'll be a top 20 player all of a sudden in NBA history. Like, he's going to be better than, like, if he wins 2 titles with them with numbers like this, he'll be remembered better than Dwayne Wade probably.
Did y'all trade Russell Westbrook to get him? Was that
Paul
that
George
deal? Paul George. God,
Paul George is the centerpiece of this whole NBA finals.
This is the Paul George finals.
Because Paul George got traded for what was the first trade that happened? Paul George out of Indiana. I can't remember who was involved.
Clips.
Who was involved in that one?
Yeah.
But he was the centerpiece of a bunch of movement. And then Halliburton got to Indianapolis. That was part of the Sabonis trade, right?
Well, and it was so it was Westbrook that had convinced George to re-sign with the Thunders. He came over on a 1-year deal, and then he re-upped, and it was that re-up is what gave Presti the move to get everything that he's now has plus some, and he just kept spinning it out and spinning it out and spinning it out to like 27 draft picks that he still has. Like, he has so many picks of top-level talent, and
you enjoy your final. So Oladipo and Sabonis were traded for George.
Yep.
And then Sabonis was traded for Halliburton. So because of George, they got Halliburton, and because of George, they got SGA. So both of the best players on the 2 finals teams came to their teams because of Paul George. So Paul George kind of, finally made the NBA finals.
I know that Oklahoma City is the more talented of these 2 teams, and anybody who has listened to me on the airwaves since 2006, thanks Miami Heat Dallas Mavericks series, where Dwayne Wade single-handedly outshot a good Dallas Mavs free throw shooting team by himself in that series. Bill Simmons admits that it was a little bit sketchy. It was very sketchy. But anyhow, off that tangent now, I'm not the biggest NBA fan at this point, but I have tuned in to games for each of these teams over the last couple of weeks just to get a sense of what's going on, because I hear you guys talk about how good this Oklahoma City team is, and holy cow, they are really good. But this Indiana team, they are a bunch of freaking dogs. And this is the sort of team that can completely disrupt what seems like a very obvious 5 or 6 game series for the heavy favorites.
No doubt. This has got that Pistons Bulls vibe, where the more physical team can just gum up the works and push you around and beat you around, and Oklahoma City can get frustrated by that. At the same time,
Oklahoma City fouls the hell out of people too. I mean, the refs are going to determine a lot of this stuff in terms of how much they let people get away with
the
stuff.
flow of it.
I mean, Oklahoma City was fouling the hell out of Minnesota every time they touched the ball, and they got away with it.
Well, I think that, ultimately I was watching, I think there was Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce were talking about this Thunder team, and it seemed like it's just they always have a run in them at some point in the game where they can just push it out to 15-20 and then hold on. And it's like, can you withstand the run? Can you come back from those runs? But it seems like every game they've got those moments or that quarter where they just pour it on, and then it's really just about either does that team can the other team swing back or not. We'll see. I
think OKC gets back well enough that Indiana's not going to get all of their transition points the way they usually do, and they don't have anybody that can, besides Halliburton, really create their own shot as much. They're used to coming off of movement, and Oklahoma City will just be all over them. Like, nobody's going to be able to get open looks on Indianapolis, I wouldn't think. So we'll see.
That's the hope.
I bet there'll be one major blowout and then probably, 4 or 5 close games.
That's the hope.
So you're OKC in 5 or 6. What's your prediction here?
We're going in 4. We're going to sweep them.
Well,
right.
I mean, it is the biggest. Well, is it the biggest favorite in the last 20 years?
We're gonna get the sweep, and then we're gonna the World Championship parade through Bricktown, Oklahoma City, baby.
Oh boy, how exciting that'll be!
And then downtown built by pennies, the penny tax.
And then say goodbye to Lou Dort, I guess, because they're gonna have to let somebody. They're not gonna be able to pay everybody.
No, but they'll figure it out.
They got enough draft picks.
They've got plenty of draft picks. They've got plenty of other things. They will continue. I mean, Sam Presti is the man.
Or they lose in 5 and they trade for the Greek freak and the dynasty never happens.
But most importantly, Coach Mark's a deadhead.
Yeah, I saw that clip that you sent. So
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I've got to be down with any coach that is going to the Sphere to see Dead and Company.
Yeah.
Pretty good in my book.
Yeah.
Mike Malone was a deadhead as well, I believe. But there's also pictures from back in the day of Dabo Sweeney having on Grateful Dead gear. So
That was his mom's shirt.
That was his mom's shirt?
I'm assuming he was sleeping right next to her in college.
That was Dabo and Tucker Carlson together. They were,
winning.
Hey, it's a whole community. Everybody's welcome. If you want to, everybody accesses Jerry in different ways. We know this, and sometimes you can get there through clean living. I don't know what we call Dabo, but
Dabo is stubborn living.
Yeah.
Dabo is
not through the portal.
Hard pressed to adapt to modern times in college football. Speaking of, guys, lots of conversation happening over the last week plus now about the future of college football, specifically what the playoff is going to look like after next year, whether it stays at 12 teams, whether it expands to 14 or maybe even 16. Are there automatic bids for the quote-unquote best conferences, or is it more of a straight-up 5+11 model? The SEC seems content, at least Greg Sankey and the ADs, to dig their heels in with regards to not getting automatic bids, means not going to a 9th conference game. I think that's silly, especially when your coaches are saying otherwise. What do you guys think is the best path forward for college football and what they do with the playoff after next season?
I mean, I like Premier League. I like taking the top 20 and seeing those football games, and then letting the mid majors go through the bowl season and work their way up and let other people fall down.
So a 20-team postseason.
Super conference. No, 20-team super conference.
Yeah.
Throughout every year gets reset.
Promotion, relegation.
Yeah. All the things.
That's my ultimate hope. Maybe a little bit more than 20 teams, but yeah, I want to see something like that.
We can go AP top 25 then. Not AP. Definitely don't leave it up to the writers. But, go 25 teams and then have that next 25, the Oklahoma States and Louisvilles of the world, You know, like, hey, if they string one together and they win the Rose Bowl, then they're, you know, whatever. Like, figure out a way for them to have their own. And yeah, and then you've got, I don't know. I personally think you just got to go back to regional play and the best teams playing the best teams based off of, you know. Now that gets hard though. Obviously.
Well, those two things are in conflict though,
Right.
because regional doesn't necessarily mean the best. The best is spread out all over the country, which is why the Big Ten very selfishly went out and pillaged the Pac-12 amidst their supposed alliance.
Yeah, but what I sent you guys a couple weeks ago, this is interesting. I mean, here's the 16 teams based off of revenue, viewership, historical success since 2010, and then the 2024 performance. Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, Clemson, Oklahoma, LSU, Florida State, USC, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and Florida. Like, show me those games week in and week out, and then
they all just play each other. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, and then just same thing. It's like the top 4, top 2 based off of that performance go in, and they play 2 games, and the championship games on January 1. Definitely not on a Sunday, so CDC can go to church. And
You'd have to have 4, right?
yeah, there's a semifinal and a final. Yeah, you do Final 4. Do it, you know, the weekend before Christmas, and then New Year's Day.
Problem is that they're not going to be able to put those worms back in the can in terms of how many postseason games now matter that much more versus the traditional bowl season.
Think how much higher the ratings would be throughout the year.
Oh my gosh.
If you had all those teams playing each other every single week, they'd be able to sell enough advertisement to make up for whatever they're making during the playoff, I bet.
I think they were heading in the direction of a 32-team top tier, let's say, with the Big Ten and SEC each having 16 teams. Within the Big Ten, decided to, you know what, all over themselves and add teams 17 and 18. What does that mean? They eventually cut Rutgers and, I don't know, Maryland or somebody like that? Perhaps. But at this point, it seems more likely that the SEC is going to have to add a team or two. It could be Florida State. It could be a Clemson, a North Carolina, a Miami, something like that, to get to an even number. Ultimately, I do think we end up there. I don't know how fast that's going to happen.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to be in 2026. It might not be until the turn of this decade.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think that's good for everybody. As much as it messes with the traditional fabric of college football, how many of these mid-major schools or these secondary schools in the ACC or Big 12 have had a legitimate shot at a national championship for the last several decades?
The traditional fabric of college football is shredded. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's like gone. The NCAA holding on to that old model and saying, yeah, we realize NIL is coming down the pike. We're still going to try and preserve this for as long as possible versus think about potential solutions for the future, which is why the NCAA is on the outside looking in as far as any major decision being made in college football right now.
I mean, they dug their own grave.
Yes, they did. What do you think, Matthew?
What y'all said.
I'm not your college football expert.
As far as the more...
I like them all playing each other, and I miss the regular season games, mattering in a serious way. And
where like one loss means that you no longer have a chance.
Not that, but like 2 losses or definitely 3 losses, you know, and now there's all these 3-loss teams that are going to make it into the playoffs. And I like the excitement of, regular season games still, being incredibly important.
But don't more regular season games matter with the expanded playoff at the end of the year because teams do still have a shot to make the part of the postseason that matters in the sport?
No, I don't. I don't think that makes them more exciting. It just means you're gonna have more lame teams getting in at the end, and I don't care about some mediocre 8-3 or 9-4 team getting in.
I'm not. I mean, I understand. Again, I understand the paydays and the the amount of money that a Kent State or an Alcorn State or a Texas State makes by going to play, Penn State, right? Like I get that backdoor revenue sharing model, I understand. But man, I mean, just think, again, everybody was talking about wanting that Texas-Ohio State game in prime time, not competing. It's like, I want all those games. I want to be able to watch all those games. I want to be able to see Tennessee, Penn State in the middle of September, right? It's like, just give me the best teams across a 10-game schedule and let the chips fall where they may, and then it's a lot easier, in my opinion. And we just got to be honest about, where those teams are. And I'm not saying that you can't get wild cards in. I'm not saying that you can't have, somebody put it all together and break through, but we can pretty much determine the top 32 teams for television purposes. And inevitably,
it's a pretty simple money game. Back to your list, it's like which of the teams that are making the most each and every year. It starts with the SEC and the Big Ten, and then after that, it's like which can bring the most value to the table if we do include them at this.
Well, and then the other thing you can do is again, it's like if it's 9 games, then that 10th exhibition game or that extra game can be that can be Bedlam, or it can be OU Nebraska, or it can be Texas TCU. It can be those other games that you want to see just to kind of get warmed up. I mean, playing Oklahoma State to warm up is great. It's not a problem. It's like a scrimmage most of the time, so I'm fine by that. So,
Matthew, for you as a Longhorn fan, if Texas were to try and create a rivalry that is outside of their current conference, so that eliminates A&M, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, who is that one opponent you would want to see them play each and every year that would have rivalry implications?
Seems like there's a lot of animosity between Texas and Ohio State.
I'd say Ohio State. I'm sorry, I'm cutting in. Ohio State, USC, or Michigan are the 3.
Michigan I feel a little less excited about for some reason. I don't know why. Ohio State, there's just so much animosity. It feels like SC, where I went for 15 minutes, it feels kind of natural, one, because of the national championship, but 2, just Texas versus California, 2 biggest states, no offense, Alaska, in the country. So I think SC or Ohio State. I mean, Texas has well, I guess we're talking out of conference. Yeah, so.
You went to USC?
Yeah, my freshman year. Sat next to Willie McGinnis in political science.
There you go.
Big dude?
Yeah. He had all the answers for the final exam, too, at our study hall. It was great. I still failed the class.
Is that why you ultimately ended up out at USC, is that you didn't cut it grades-wise?
No, why did I go to USC? I think I just wanted – I went for sports broadcast journalism. I wanted to be, a color guy on sporting events, probably basketball or something. Wanted to be Al Michaels or whatever.
The Czar.
I wanted to be the Czar of the telestrator. I wanted to be Dick Vitale. I used to do a really good Dick Vitale impression when I was a kid.
Your head's still doing it.
Yeah, it's ahead of my time. And then I left. Let's see, last college football game I went to out there, Rob Johnson threw an interception in the end zone against UCLA. Winner of that game went to the Rose Bowl. Who knows? If he doesn't throw that interception on 3rd down, we go to the Rose Bowl. Maybe I end up staying at USC. It's sliding doors moment, So
Rob Johnson is your sliding doors moment.
Yeah, all because of Rob Johnson.
I love that.
That was a good team. We had Tony Baselli, Willie McGinnis, Jason Sehorn, Rob Johnson, Johnny Morton.
That was a good team.
That was really good. Much better than 7-4 or whatever.
I like the state size thing too, right? So or just the connections, right? Like, so Texas, Colorado. I'd watch Texas, Colorado every time.
Colorado hates us.
Yeah.
The state of Colorado hates the state of Texas.
It does, yeah, because they hate the way that we use it as our backyard playground.
Right.
I mean, if I lived in Colorado, I'd hate Texans too. New Mexicans really hate Texans.
So Coloradans feel about Texans like Texans feel about Californians.
I don't know.
I think that's right. Is
that kind of right?
That's pretty close.
I think New Mexicans might feel that way more because there's a lot of people moving from Texas to New Mexico, whereas Texans just keep second homes in Colorado.
Right. Yeah.
I just assume New Mexicans hate everybody.
I don't know, but they've got some. My friend moved to Taos and was like a homeowner. She hadn't changed her license plate yet. She'd been out there for several years and would get nasty notes on her car like, go back to Texas. But I think a lot of that has to do as much culturally as it does with like water rights and it's very cultural stuff.
I had an OU sticker scratched off my car at the backyard.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I did. Made me feel very welcome. I stayed anyways.
I had a friend who had a back window broken out in College Station because they had the Longhorn sticker on the back bumper.
Yeah, I definitely would not drive. I would not park my car in College Station with a Longhorn sticker on it.
Maybe that's changed now, but back in the 90s,
Just because all the cameras everywhere, because of surveillance state.
Yeah.
And you got a little bit of a break. That again, talking about the fabric being broken, right? I'm glad that the A&M game is going to be back to the Friday after Thanksgiving.
I mean, I'd like to. Let's just go back to Southwest Conference. I mean, let's just go to Southwest Conference.
I'm fine going back to Big 8. I'm fine playing Nebraska and Colorado, and like Oklahoma State, Iowa State. Like,
there's just too much money. I mean, it's just going to be. There's going to be 30 teams that are professional football.
Yeah.
Below
Semi-pro football.
Semi-pro. I mean, pro really, but like feeder to the NFL because of age restrictions in the NFL, and then there's going to be a bunch of college football teams, and the question
that are
will be
really more just like AAA teams, because those top 30 are just going to take the best 10 off of each of those rosters and pay them.
And then what's going to happen to like you say, the funding? If these colleges that get several $100,000 or $1 million for playing a big school aren't getting those paydays, like their funding is going to be hurt because they're not going to get the same sports money.
I mean, again, I think if you go with the top 25. And then, add 7 more teams out of like a tier 2 playoff system and a tier 3 playoff system and a tier 4, whatever, however many it takes to get the 2 finalists of those, just make it like, D2, D3, right? If you're not in the top 32, you're playing basically in a bigger NCAA sanctioned tournament, and the first and second out of those tournaments move up next year into the Premier, and they get an opportunity to retain players, get paid, get the paydays.
And maybe those kids at D2 and D3 like get scholarships, but they're not getting NIL money because the money's just not flowing in the same way.
Theoretically, when the dust settles, it will make for a much healthier system because you just have these steps to ultimately get to professional football. Did y'all see what Peter King, longtime NFL
Didn't he retire?
writer? He did retire, but he was just on, I want to say, a Pro Football Talk podcast or something. He predicted that at some point, I don't remember the time frame that he gave, but at some point in the future, the NFL draft may completely go away, and it turns into a bid system for NFL teams to get the best college players to that roster, which will once again
It'd be like the fantasy draft. I don't play fantasy, but like those fantasy drafts where you have X amount of dollars that you can spend on players.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Oh, $74 for our QB and $6 for our second wide receiver.
You'll still be operating on salary caps, you would assume, but it would allow guys coming out of college a little bit more flexibility with where they ultimately end up versus...
We just need the football version of the Savannah Bananas and like 5 of them, and then they travel the country playing all these tier 2 and tier 3 schools so they can sell out stadiums and make money.
Every running back is doing the Saquon Barkley backwards hurdle.
Yeah,
I was pretty sure that Oregon was the college football version of the Savannah Bananas. Are they not?
Good one.
Jeez
well done
Louise.
there. All right, we're down the stretch here, guys. We always end each episode with our food rec or drink rec or restaurant rec from the last couple of weeks. Matthew, you've got 3 weeks to work on, but you also have a new piece out in the Statesman, statesman.com, on the best things that you consumed in May. So what does that list consist of?
Yeah, if you go to my Instagram, you can find a link to it. Instagram is at Matthew Odam. Let's see. I've been eating a lot of seafood lately. I love seafood in the summertime. I've started, it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek bit, but I think I'm going to stick with it as my summer of scallops. I had a scallop crudo dish at Nomad, which is a Mexican restaurant on South First that kind of gives, Yucatan vibes. Not crazy necessarily about all their cooked dishes, but their raw seafood preparations are awesome. There's a leche de tigre that they have with their scallop dish. I think that setup is about to change from a message I got the other day, but if you love raw seafood preparations, Nomad is a good hang. And I also had a torched scallop nigiri at Salt Traders Coastal Cooking, which is Jack Gilmore from Jack Allen Kitchen. His seafood restaurant. I think there's one in Round Rock.
Yep.
There's one on Mopac, which is where I was. It had a little bit of chili crisp on it and toasted sesame seeds. It was a lunch, or maybe it was just a daily special. They're only like $4 a piece, which is pretty good for a piece of nigiri. And I had probably a half dozen of them. I just ordered a couple of them, and they were so good I had like 6 of them. So I'm chin deep in my summer of scallops already.
Now, I haven't been there recently, but Salt Traders used to have a really good oyster selection and also one of the best micheladas in town, too.
Nice. I'm not a michelada drinker, but they do have good oyster selection. They and Clark's and Perla's, probably the best oyster selection in town. Bill's Oyster, downtown, nice place to get oysters as well.
Brian?
Well, I tend to give Matthew. It seems like he eats a lot of sushi, but I also had a nice omakase, the 45-minute omakase at Iroko.
Yeah, Iroko's great.
Really good. Take is back from Japan, and we had a really nice meal there with some friends, and then we ended up hitting up Strangelove after for a couple bottles of wine. Annie said, my wife was like, it's the most she's seen Josh lit up around that wine list. He's super excited to be pouring some really cool stuff. There was a there's a kombucha, like a dry kombucha that was by the glass there in NA Bev, which was just really pretty. Cool little wine shop that opened on East Cesar Chavez. And then I went to Kentucky for a golf trip, so I was eating country club food, so nothing of note there.
A lot of whiskey.
Fair amount of bourbon, and had a good time, but I don't know what is on the list now. We're transitioning into summertime now, so it's going to be a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers. I have a feeling in the next couple weeks, but
Yeah, I'm going to have to pivot a little bit based on that too, because I spent last week in the Florida Panhandle just west of Panama City, and I didn't realize, but grouper is kind of the main fish that they eat in those parts, and holy cow, I had some incredible black grouper that my brother cooked up. But my recommendation is to not go to a Florida Panhandle farmer's market on Saturdays or Sundays or whenever that's held in a little community that you're hanging out in. If you're going to vacation there this summer, because we went to the farmer's market, and at a farmer's market, of course, there are farms there that are selling their fresh produce to you, and there may be some meats, or there's always the mushroom guy out at the farmer's market. But we got a bunch of fruits and vegetables from this farmer's market thinking, hey, this is Florida, and maybe things are growing a little bit better down here this time of year versus what we're accustomed to in Texas. So we get amongst the tomatoes, the zucchinis, the berries, we get some avocados, and we go back to, I was like, avocados in Florida.
Mexico
okay,
stickers
cool.
on them.
Yep, exactly. We get back and we cut into them. One, they're not good, and then two, they have Mexico stickers on them. It's like, what Aldi did you go to get these rotten avocados that you couldn't even remember?
Hey,
hashtag Florida man.
Yeah.
Florida man farmers market.
Florida man farmers market edition.
I will be interested to see kind of because we keep getting a lot more rain. It's a little bit more green later into May, so it'll be interesting to see what happens locally. But
it was a terrible wildflower season. For what that's worth. I paid way too close attention to these things. The blue bonnets were brief. We didn't get any Native American paintbrushes this year. I don't remember
didn't see many.
Literally any. We got some decent yellow wildflowers.
Well, listeners,
Central Texas wildflower breakdown.
Trey missed out on his flowers and his farmers markets, but
that sound you hear is everybody turning their car radios off.
Oh, good thing we're at the end of today's episode.
Thunder up, people. Let's go.
Thanks as always, boys.
Good luck to the
Big
Thunder.
League City, Oklahoma City. Here we come.
Hook 'em horns. I guess the Longhorns are playing as this airs probably.
Starts just after.
All right, hook 'em horns.
Oklahoma City, the center of the sports universe.
Jesus.
Oh man.
Good to see y'all.